Hello and welcome to another video, and we're going to talk about the skill tree question and answer that was posted on the MechWarrior Online forums a couple days ago. It's taken me a couple days to go through this. I have rewritten it into simpler text so that I can go through this with a higher speed than having to read the entire post, because it is quite long. It is a very good read. I would recommend if you have the time to do it, but this is a summary. So keep in mind, these are my rewritten questions and answers that contain the same essence of what I believe they were trying to get across. If you think that, oh, maybe he didn't get that right, feel free to go and check the source yourself. But also, when I say we, I'm saying this from the position of the developer, so not concluding myself there, I'm just rewriting their words. But let's go into it and go through these questions. First off is, what is the summary of the core design goals of the new skill tree? And very simply, it's to improve customization and personalization of your mechs. They want you to have the ability to take specific skill nodes that go with the build that you've chosen. The next question is, the new system seems to be much more complex than the previous system, with large amounts of skill nodes that require a considerable amount of clicking. Why is it this way? Well, they are investigating the number of clicks with potential quality of life improvements, such as quick pathing, so you could click on a single node in the bottom of the tree and it would automatically choose nodes that are above it, sort of thing, or duplicating layouts, so you could have a layout, you could save it, and then you could paste it onto another mech. As for the number of skill nodes, we needed players to be able to customize their mechs faster than currently. Instead of waiting multiple matches for a single large purchase, we opted for smaller incremental upgrades that could be purchased after every match. And this 91 points comes from us wanting players to be able to make the most of the entire firepower tree while having some leftovers for other branches. This is where we give and take, where the give and take of the system occurs. If we give players too many points, it would cause power creep and more homogenized builds. So basically what they're saying there is we expect players to take a majority of firepower, and then you're going to have a little bit of extra for, say, cool run and some durability stuff. And that's how they came to the 91 points. And for the number of skill tree nodes, they want it to be smaller, so that way you don't need to play a bunch of matches to get that single purchase. You can have these, hey, I completed something every single match. You're getting things done. So I can understand those points. Moving on. In the tests, we sometimes had to take nodes unrelated to our builds in order to get the maximum useful nodes. Has this been addressed? This has been directly addressed with this version of the skill tree. Firepower has been completely reworked to remove majority of the gating issues, allowing you to select most of the universal nodes without making a node unrelated to your build. If I can read. Mobility tree has also been reworked with the removal of all ARM mobility nodes, but with that said, there are still some gating in the tree. You still have to take hill climb and improve gyros when trying to acquire heat containment and cool run. So this is good. I looked at I'll put it up on the screen hopefully if I remember in post editing. They have the new firepower tree that has the majority of the universal nodes. You can go through them and just get the universal. You don't have to get the focused ones that are an energy, missile, or ballistic. So this is a good thing, because previously you'd be like, hey, I want to take this, but I have to take a velocity node in order to get down to my heat generation node, where I don't need velocity. I'm a laser mech. You know what I mean? So they have taken care of the majority of those issues. However, there are still some. If you want that speed tweak, you're going to have to do things and take some other nodes you may not want. Or if you want that cool run, you're going to have to take a little hill climb. But let's move on to the next question. Why was the skill tree non-linear? Was a linear tree ever considered? Linear trees were considered. However, they didn't accomplish our intended goals. We are not wanting unrestricted a la carte access to skills that would only result in min-maxing of the best skills from each tree, rather than promote specialization into general roles. This is a very interesting sentence there. Specialization into general roles, and some people have been trying to dissect that. From what I understand, basically, I can't remember who it was, they posted it on Reddit, of instead of having things be a tree downwards, you have a star going outwards, and you just select the nodes that you want going out, and that would be a more linear tree. I can see how they don't want people to do that, because then you would just go to operations and you would never touch hill climb. You would always just go straight down cool run and containment. You would never go into those other ones. So they wanted to have a little bit of an extra cost so that you would have to get in there. And they go into that in the next part of this answer. Nonlinear allows us to design around having high upfront costs for desirable skills, while subsequent investments in the same node type become more cost efficient. This way, getting a single skill type within a tree is costly, such as maxing out weapon cooldown, but picking up an additional skill already within that tree that you've heavily invested into is cheaper, as the nodes required to access them are already unlocked. So, in that example, if you went through and got all of the weapon cooldown and firepower, it's actually fairly cheap comparatively to also get like heat efficiency for your weapons, because you already are invested in that tree. You just need a few more points comparatively to getting that first thing. So I can see what they're doing here. They don't want it to be so that you can only invest, say, 5 points in something and get all the heat efficiency from it. They want it to be like, hey, you're going to have to put 20 points up front to get into this tree, but then if you want something additionally to that tree, you can just pay 5 more points and you can get it. So that's an interesting concept that they're working on there. But on to the next question. Why were the costs set at 45,000 C-bills and 800 XP? Why is there a respec cost? Maxing out the tree is not supposed to be cheap. We want people to play the mech that they are building for the needed currencies. Looking at the average player results without premium time, a player makes just shy of 120,000 C-bills and just over 800 XP per match. We felt that around 1/3 of this average match should be the cost to buy a skill point. For respec, we wanted a cost that kept players using their mechs and resulted in the 400 XP value. So they're just basically saying, you know, this is the average C-bill earnings, is just shy of 120,000 per match. And so, you know, 1/3 of that-ish is around 45,000. A half of that-ish is your 400 XP for a respec, and one match's worth of experience is enough to buy the point. So every single match, you should have enough XP to buy a point, and 1/3 of your C-bills should go towards that point, leaving 2/3 for savings for future mechs and equipment and such. So I can understand that. I can see where they get their math from it. Moving on to the next question. Why is there no longer a full C-bill refund on modules? Why is the cutoff December 3rd? The previous system, which refunded XP and C-bills instead of the new skill points, caused some players to lose progress on their mech masteries, as they lacked currencies to fully re-equip their mechs. The new skill point system is more generous of a refund and will maintain player progress. I completely agree with this. I did make a video where I was a little bit concerned about the quantity of skill points that I'm getting and stuff like that, but really, they're giving you a lot of extra stuff. The modules which you only spent C-bills on are now coming packaged as C-bills and experience as points, and the experience that you only spent experience on in the skill trees currently are coming as skill points which have experience and C-bills related to them. So places where you only spent C-bills are coming back as C-bills and XP, and the places where you only spent XP are coming back as XP and C-bills. So you're getting a lot of extra currencies added to your account. So really it's more generous, but it's not what people expected. However, the cutoff of December 3rd is from the initial announcement of a C-bill refund from MechCon. After that point, players' module buying habits changed, so we wanted to cover that time frame. So this is an example of where it occurred to me. Previously, they had this on February 2nd or February 8th or whatever it was when the first skill tree test went live. However, they did say this on the stage at MechCon, there will be a C-bill refund. It was at that point where I went home and said, hell yeah, I'm going to spend 400 million on C-bill modules now, because I'm going to get it all back. So the buying habits changed in December and since, so they're covering the people who has made those changes to their buying habits. Moving on to the next question. How does the skill tree play into the balance question. Was it designed to promote better game balance? Somewhat. There are still some systematic imbalances within the game. However, items such as the engine desync brings better mobility balance between the larger and smaller engines. It was critically important to know that we are not looking into the skill tree as a way to balance mech to mech or tech imbalances. We cannot rely on a progression system to be the solution to something that must be fixed at a base level. Future balance changes are coming. Now, this is a great statement, and I'm really glad that they're saying it. So they are not looking at skill tree as a way to balance the game. As they say here, we cannot rely on a progression system to be the solution for something. It must be fixed at a base level. That is big to me. I've always looked at things like, the differences between the XL engines and the differences between the upgrades like Endo and Pharaoh, and saying like, hey, there are some systematic imbalances in the game. We should look at these, and they're acknowledging that those are an issue, and that hopefully something in the future will come to change them. Moving on to the next question. But what about Kodiaks getting weapon quirks through the skill tree, and weaker mechs, such as some IS mechs, losing their baseline quirks? Why is that? The current quirk system is not producing the intended results. They have served us well, however, they have run contrary to mech customization. Quirks have introduced power creep and serve as a puzzle to figure out, rather than avenues of customization. Only loadouts that fully utilize quirks were considered balanced, and not following the quirks left the mech in an underperforming state. One of the core pillars of MWO is customization, and therefore we are going to break this blind adherence to narrow offensive quirks as being what dictates an entire chassis performance and balance. Oh, this is a great paragraph. This is an amazing statement here. They're acknowledging that quirks have done some work. They've done some good. They helped. However, doing things like having large weapon quirks of a specific single weapon, such as in the past they had the Dragon AC5 cooldown, or things like that, they are basically make it so that instead of having a really interesting state where you can customize your mech how you like it, they basically say, well, if you're on this mech and you're not running this weapon, you're a noob. And that is the wrong way to run that mech, which is against what MechWarrior is about. It's about the customization of your chassis. It's about making your ride exactly how you like to play it. So they're basically saying, we're going to break away from that. We're going to go back to that mentality of customization is king, and they're going to look at other ways of balancing chassis performance. Now, next part of their answer here. First, we do not want quirks to become the dominant factor for determining mech viability. With new tech coming, there is a heavy focus on balancing clan and IS tech through baseline equipment. The quirks were going to be changed before Civil War anyway, and we chose to do that now instead of after players had invested skill points into a system that still had those quirks. So this is really good that they said this, and people are being like, but why is my Battlemaster losing its energy range and all that kind of stuff? It's because it was going to lose it anyway. With new tech coming down the line, the Battlemaster was going to get ER medium lasers and stuff like that, and it's not going to work with the new tech. So they said, let's get rid of it now, and that way people can't yell at us later, basically, of when we introduce the skill points and then they pay money for their skill points and get them invested, and then we change things on them after that. Then they'll be like, but you got to refund these skill points because I chose them based on the quirks. So they're basically saying, okay, quirks are going away for now for some of the weapon quirks and such, and that way you guys can choose your skill points appropriately under the new system. Continuing with their answer here, this one's a long one. Also, players may be underestimating the benefits weaker mechs will gain with the engine desync and skill tree. IS mainly got faster while Clan got slower. The Kodiak 3, for example, lost around 25% of its base mobility stats. There will be more baseline changes between Clan and IS technologies. So this is good. So they're basically saying, you might not be fully understanding what the engine desync is doing and what skill tree is going to be doing. And there are some changes that aren't really that obvious that are going to be going in a good way for you. So the Kodiak 3 losing a fair amount of its a fair amount of its mobility is an important aspect of that mech. But moving on to the last question. If this isn't going to be if this isn't going to balance things, what's the plan? June will see an extensive balance pass performed on energy weapons, which will touch nearly every weapon currently in the energy lineup. This balance pass will focus on two major points: better weapon role definition between the different weapon types, and a heavy focus on better baseline balance between IS and clan energy weapons. So this is really interesting. I'm super excited to see what the changes are for energy weapons. I'm most likely going to make a video very shortly of me talking about the different energy weapons and what I would do with them in this update that they're talking about here. But moving on. Quirks will be extensively reevaluated with skill tree data, with a focus on the IS chassis that are getting new heroes in June, with other chassis to follow. So they're going to be looking at Quirks, and the focus is going to be on the new heroes that are coming out, those particular chassis to start, and then they'll do other chassis in the near future. Nodes will be added to the tree with the release of the new tech in July, and which is kind of expected. We knew that was going to happen because they're going to have new types of weapons, so new types of tech. So I'm guessing there's going to be things with the stealth armor. There's going to be things with MRMs, you know, that kind of stuff. It's going to be added to it. And better balance across the standard XL and Clan XL engine types is a major change that I'm heavily pushing for. There are no solid ETAs for information I can provide. However, it will definitely be something to something we look at addressing after the introduction of new tech. And more things are being looked into behind the scenes. So this is a very powerful statement to end this on, because this is something I find always being quite contentious, is the difference between the different engine types in the game. The Clan XL engine has statistically a minimum quantity of durability over the IS XL engine, approximately 40% more durable, up to basically the same. It all depends on pilot skill. But if you're a complete potato versus a complete potato sort of thing, it's 40% more durable. And if you are a mech playing god versus another mech playing god, it's basically the same, but there shouldn't really be a difference between them. The fact that they are looking into it, they have no solid ETA, but they are looking into changing engines and balancing them better is so good to hear for me. And I'm very happy that they're doing that. And that more things are being looked into behind the scenes. Now, this is great. Thank you for Paul and Chris for doing this Q&A. I wish that this becomes a monthly thing as part of the roadmaps. Like, it should be a roadmap and Q&A. That would be a beautiful dump of information every month. So this is great. Great communication. I love this. Some really great things about this. I'm going to be making a video talking about what I would do with energy weapons in this possible update that they'll be doing. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. Of course, read the full details on the MWO forums, as you know, get your sources right from, get your information right from the source, so it's not interpreted by me incorrectly. I think I did it right, but you never know. But thanks for watching, and good hunting.